An overnight rise in crude oil prices due to the tension, the conflict in the Middle East, could eventually see drivers here paying £100 to fill up their tank.
So how worried should people be about the potential impact on housing bills? Housing Secretary Steve Reid joins us now. Mr. Reid, a week ago, the Chancellor was telling us inflation coming down, energy prices and bills coming down, mortgage rates coming down. A week on, with all this global instability, it looks like everything is going in the opposite direction. Higher bills, higher interest rates to come.
Well, good morning, Ed. It's good to join you on the show. And, of course, the UK can't control things that happen, crises that happen across the planet that have an impact on us here at home. What we can control are our own circumstances. So the fact that the Chancellor Rachel Reeves was able to stand up and point to those benefits of a more stable economy, thanks to her stewardship of the economy, that puts us in a better position to weather whatever storms might come our way. Now, when it comes to the cost of oil, and we've seen what's happened overnight, we're still only just over a week into this conflict. We don't know how long it will go on. We don't know what the long-term impact will be on energy prices. But as I say, the fact that we have a more stable economy means we're in a better position to weather those storms. And we will, of course, keep a very close eye as we monitor the situation.
We don't need to keep a close eye. I mean, overnight oil prices have surged.
That's right, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to have a direct impact at the pumps. We need to see what happens over the days and the weeks to come, and the government is monitoring the situation.
I'm not sure when you last filled up your car, Steve Reid. But
this weekend.
Yeah, so the last time I filled up my car, when I drove past the petrol station, it was one price, and then I came back and it had already gone up in a matter of hours. I mean, this is happening hour by hour, the increase in petrol prices.
Well, that's why I say we need to keep monitoring the situation. I know that in some parts of the country last week there was panic buying that led to queues at some petrol stations. Members of my family experienced that directly, so I'm very aware of it. There is no need to panic at the moment. There is not a shortage of fuel. There's not a shortage of gas either. We have stocks that are usual for this time of year, but it's only right and prudent that the government should keep a close eye on what's happening in the Middle East, so that if there comes a need for action, we can consider it.
OK, the Octopus founder, Octopus is one of our energy companies, says we should start looking at using North Sea oil. We're staring down the barrel of an energy price shock. There's no point shipping gas from the other side of the world when we have it here. Is that something you're going to keep a close eye on?
Well, definitely. And we are, of course, using energy from the North Sea, whether that's gas or whether it's oil. All of the contracts that were in place are continuing. So we're drilling oil out of the North Sea. But what people don't always understand, I think, is that even if we get more oil out of the North Sea, it doesn't affect prices here at home because the price is set globally. So the incidents in the Middle East would affect the price of North Sea oil as well, however much we drill. The real answer long term is to switch away from dependence on fossil fuels towards clean energy, wind, wave, solar, nuclear, so that we can generate our own energy here at home and have control of our own nation's energy supplies, so that crises that happen in the Middle East, Ukraine, wherever else, don't hit the petrol pumps here at home, don't hit household energy bills. And that, of course, is why the government is committed to shifting to clean energy.
Can I ask you about the phone call yesterday between President Trump and Keir Starmer? Clearly, things have been a bit fractious over the last week or so. Donald Trump has been sharing his views on Keir Starmer regularly on Truth Social. We also have the views of Tony Blair, who said that Keir Starmer should have been there from the very beginning. I just wonder, do you think Tony Blair is the right person to be advising British Prime Ministers about how to handle relations with American presidents when we are going to war in the Middle East?
Well, you are right. There are lessons that we need to did learn with the public inquiry into the Iraq war. But it's for the current government and the Prime Minister to take their decisions about what's in the national interest. We didn't take part in the initial strikes against Iran, but when Iran retaliated in such a reckless way, lashing out not just at our allies in the region, but also threatening British nationals and British assets in the region, then it's quite right that we should take defensive steps to protect them.
Right.
And I think that's the right place to be on this.
Can I ask you about the announcement? I know you're making an announcement today about community cohesion and some more money, and you'll want to explain that to us. This is happening, though, at a time when the government is also putting in place important reforms to our asylum system, controversial reforms to say that people who come to our country have to wait longer before they get the right to remain here indefinitely. And I was just reading the comments of a Labour veteran, Alf Dubs, came to Britain as a refugee with the kinder transport just before the beginning of the Second World War. He was talking about these changes, and he says these changes will increase tensions in local communities. He said, "My particular fear is integration in local communities. If people are here temporarily and people know they're here temporarily, then the danger is local people say, well, you're only here for a bit. Why should we help you to integrate?" I just wonder, is there a tension between what you're announcing to promote community cohesion and what the Home Secretary is doing, which Alf Dubs says is going to lead to less community cohesion?
No, it's all part of the same agenda. And, you know, I know Alf and I love Alf, but I don't always agree with him on these things. One of the things that has really inflamed community tensions was the Conservatives' asylum seeker hotel policy. You've seen the protests that led to in parts of the country, and that's why the current government, the Labour government, is seeking to end the use of those hotels for those purposes. But we want to do more than that. We want to promote integration. Well, you know, there are many, many things in the action plan, and we won't have time to talk through all of them, but one of them is to encourage English language learning. If people are coming in from other countries, then for their own self-interest, they need to speak English so they can get a job, so that they can report crimes that might happen to them. But if you can't lean over the garden fence and talk to your neighbour, you're not going to have a cohesive society. Now, when I was younger, I used to volunteer teaching English at a refugee centre, and I think that benefited the refugees, but it benefited me because I learnt more about these people and their cultural heritage as well. And since we are a very successful multi-ethnic country, I think that benefited me as the person who was volunteering, as well as the person who was learning from me something about English.
Shabana Mahmood said in her piece in The Guardian last week that if you are a doctor, a nurse or a high earner, then you will be able to get the right to stay here more quickly. I just wondered, as a Labour politician, if you're a low-paid worker, say you've come here to work in our care sector because we had care worker shortages, are you really saying that low-paid workers should be at the back of the queue because the high earners come first? Doesn't feel very Labour to me.
Well, I think what we need to do as a country is choose for ourselves who can come in and who can't come in. And that's only right. We don't want to have the kind of things that have happened in the past when you got too many low-skilled workers coming in and undermining the pay of British workers
in
here
the care system
home.
They were coming in because there were massive shortages of workers, and we needed
right.
to come here
No,
to fill jobs. So they come here, they're paid low wages because the wages are too low for British people to do the jobs, and now we say you're at the back of the queue. I just wondered, why is that a Labour thing?
Well, I don't disagree with you there, Ed, actually. And some of our employment reforms are intended to make sure that wages are going up. I mean, one of the things the Chancellor was able to announce in the spring statement is that wages have gone up more in 1 year with this Labour government than in 10 years with the previous Conservative government, where wages flatlined. But I don't think that detracts from the fact that we should choose as a country who comes into our country. And when we when previous governments allowed to come in too many low-skilled workers, it had a detrimental effect on the pay and employment opportunities for British people, and that of itself fueled problems with social cohesion. So we can't allow that to continue.
Steve Reid, just before we let you go, I just want to take you back to the conversation that the Prime Minister had with the US President, because he could probably give a lecture in how to paper over cracks in communities and relations. Trump says that the surging costs of oil and, as a result, cost of living are a small price to pay for stopping Iran. Does Keir Starmer agree with that?
Well, this government is very focused on the cost of living crisis that we have at the moment. We're doing everything we can to reduce bills, so energy bills will be going down by £150 in April.
But does he think this is a war worth fighting and a price worth paying?
The UK shares the objective of preventing Iran from ever acquiring nuclear weapons because of the threat that would pose to all of us.
So we do support Trump's actions in reference to
the UK
Iran.
didn't take part in the initial strikes, but
we support it and we benefit from it.
Well, we're taking part in the defensive action to stop the drones hitting our allies, British nationals and British assets in the region. And I think that's the right thing to do. As I said earlier on, we're learning the lessons from Iraq. We won't make some of the mistakes that were made back then, but it's quite right that we should seek to protect British interests and particularly British people who are in the region. I think nearly 170,000 of them at the moment.
OK. Steve Reid, thank you very much indeed for joining us.